Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Tuesday, February the 6th. It is game day. Tonight the Canucks kick off a road trip by playing in Florida against the Luongo-less Florida Panthers. Florida has 50 points in 50 games, slightly better than the Canucks' 48 points in 52 games. And with their 50 points, the Panthers are only 17 points back behind Toronto for third spot in the Atlantic Division. It goes Tampa Bay, the surging Boston Bruins, Toronto, then that massive gap, and then Florida, and then a bunch of bad teams below them. As for Vancouver, they're coming off a mildly successful homestand, winning 3 of 5. The last game being a loss against Tampa Bay. Very entertaining game, 4-2 on Saturday night. Canucks tried a valiant comeback, but it ultimately fell short in the third period. And coincidentally, the Canucks are playing against Tampa 2 days from now on Thursday. There's a lot of uncertainty. I've talked about it in these Clay's Canucks commentaries, talking about the uncertainty around the team. Jim Benning's future, the Sedin's future, the trade deadline in a few weeks. One thing that I want to talk about today are the 5 RFAs, the 5 restricted free agents that are on the Canucks roster, and what might happen to them going forward. The 5 of them are 3 forwards, Jake Virtanen, Sven Baertschi, and Markus Granlund, and then there's 2 D-men, Derek Pouliot and Troy Stecher. Let's talk about the 2, I think, that are easiest to talk about first. The 2 guys coming off of their entry-level contracts, Virtanen and Stecher. With Jake Virtanen, I've talked to a few of you on Twitter. It sounds like the consensus is it's going to be a 2-year deal, about 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million. 2 million might be a little high. So maybe Jake gets a show-me contract of 2 years at 1.6 million. That sounds about reasonable. And I know the Canucks brass, obviously, Canucks fans want to see him succeed, being such a high draft pick, 6 overall in 2014. We know of the other players that were drafted in his year, both before and after him. So the Canucks want to see him do well, and a 2-year contract at 1.6 is reasonable, and it's a perfect chance for Jake Virtanen to show that he belongs in the AHL. When it comes to defenseman Troy Stecher, he's picked up his game recently. You can see the way he's skating, the way he's creating offense, very confident right now. And I think the Canucks look at him as being an important cornerstone. Maybe not the cornerstone, but important part of the D-core for many years to come. Still, I don't think he gets more than a 2 or 3 year deal, maybe a 2-year deal. And you look at Ben Hutton's money. Ben Hutton's making about $2.8 million a year. So maybe Stecher makes somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million a year going forward, especially if they value him more than they value Ben Hutton. It looks like they do based on how often Hutton's been scratched recently. So maybe Stecher gets about a $2.8 to $3 million deal for 2 or 3 years. It's funny how we're talking about 2 years for Stecher and Virtanen, where Bo Horvat just came off of his entry-level contract, signing 6 years for $33 million, 5.5 each. So obviously Jake Virtanen and Troy Stecher are not Bo Horvat, but it just goes to show the discrepancy there. All right, let's talk about the 3 RFAs that are not coming off of their ELCs. The 2 forwards, both with Calgary connections, Sven Baertschi and Markus Granlund. Calgary connections because we traded for them in consecutive years. With Sven Baertschi, I see him as being maybe not a core part or an integral part, but still a part of the Canucks' future. He's shown chemistry with Brock Besser and Bo Horvat in the past. And, I see him getting a 2 or 3 year deal. I don't see them going long term with him. Now, Sam Gagner is making about between about 3.2 million. Brandon Sutter's making more than that. So where do you put Sven Baertschi? Where do you value him? Do you value him in the 3 to 3.5 million a year category? I definitely think the Canucks will sign him to a new contract. Markus Granlund, I'm not so sure. He's been streaky this year. Might have to do with his deployment or the guys he's playing with or whatever it may be. But he had 19 goals last season, so he can put the puck in the net. Hasn't shown a lot of that this year. I have a feeling that the Canucks... no, I don't have a feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks either lowball him or even walk away from and don't offer him a contract, especially with all the forwards coming up. We've talked about guys like Pettersson and Gaudette potentially playing on this team next year already. Or do the Canucks offer him a 2-year deal that's low money, like definitely not as much as Baertschi would make, over $3 million. So maybe he gets $1.5 to $2 million. Would he even sign here for that? So it's interesting. With RFAs, the Canucks have a chance to obviously offer him a contract, and then the RFA has a chance to either decline that contract and file for salary arbitration to accept that contract, or God forbid, a team signs him to an offer sheet, which is not going to happen with Markus Granlund. It rarely happens in the NHL. And then, of course, the Canucks have the right to not even offer RFAs a contract. So all to say, Markus Granlund, I think, is a little more uncertain. I don't think his future spot in the team is as solid as maybe Sven Baertschi's. Love to hear what you guys think. And lastly, there's defenseman Derek Pouliot. This one's really interesting because you don't know what's going to happen with Erik Gudbranson. You don't know what's going to happen with a guy like Ben Hutton. And then you have Olli Juolevi basically poised to make the team next year. So even if Gudbranson gets traded, Juolevi's basically taking that roster spot, I think, or maybe he's battling for that. You also have Philip Holm biding his time in Utica, who the Canucks, I think he's only on a 1-year contract, so the Canucks may extend Philip Holm as well. So there's still going to be a logjam. There's 8 healthy defensemen right now. There's still going to be a logjam next year. So how expensible, no, is that the word? You know what I'm trying to say. How can Derek Pouliot, can they afford to sign him or not sign him? We'll kind of see what happens. I think he has a lot that he can bring to this team. His offensive flair, he's good skating, but he, like Markus Granlund, like a lot of the Canucks this year, has been really streaky. So we'll see what happens. I think, he's still young. Pittsburgh gave up on him. I don't think Canucks are ready to give up on him. I see him also signing a 2-year deal, perhaps, again, a show-me deal. A lot of these RFA deals are show-me deals. So let's see what Pouliot gets. Maybe he gets $2 million. He doesn't make Troy Stecher money, but maybe a little less, maybe in the mid ones, maybe $1.5 million, kind of Jake Virtanen money, because he's kind of in a similar situation, at least contract-wise. So we'll see what happens. So definitely new contracts for Virtanen and Stecher, definitely for Sven Baertschi. I'm not sure about Markus Granlund, and likely contract for Derek Pouliot. Just not sure about the money. And actually, as you can tell, I'm not sure about the money for all 5 of these guys. Canucks fans, what do you guys think? Leave a comment below. I would love to read and react to it. Of those 5, do you think all 5 are no-brainers, or do you think not all 5 will be signed, or at least offer contracts? And what type of money are we looking at for each of these 5 guys? We'd love to read, and I'd love to respond to your comments. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.